Good morning. You are listening to First Title National Real Estate Radio Show. I'm your host, Doug Dennison, and we are broadcasting from beautiful St. Augustine, Florida, the nation's oldest city, at WFOY 1240 AM studios. Through the power of the Internet, this program is being streamed worldwide on 1240news.com. The show will also be archived on FirstTitleServices.com and TitleCompany.com, as First Title and Escrow, Inc. are the sponsors of this program. They are a leading national title agency, and one more thing, this show will be posted on YouTube.com. Our radio show mission statement: to provide an educational experience for listeners and a promotional format for real estate sales across the country. We're going to be talking about real estate, different real estate markets across the country. We've got a lot of topics today. We've got several people calling in. We've got Dallas calling in. We've got Georgia coming in. Hold on for a minute. We've got our first call. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Doug. This is Brent Lockhart.
Well, thank you, Brent, for calling in. How about telling us again who you are, where you're from, and what do you do, sir?
Oh, thank you so much. So, Doug, I'm with the Default Title Coalition, and the Default Title Coalition is a group, an organization that serves title and closing professionals in the real estate world. And specifically, we serve those title and closing professionals who do some work or wish to do some work in the default and REO space. So that's what the Default Title Coalition. I should also mention that the Default Title Coalition is not just a standalone company, but is a division of the Five Star Institute. And the Five Star Institute is a publishing and communications company. We publish DS News Magazine, DS standing for Default Servicing. It's the voice for and serves default and REO sections of the mortgage and real estate markets. It has a companion website, dsnews.com. We also publish M-Report magazine to the broader mortgage community. And then we also, in addition to the magazines we publish, serve those communities through conferences and events. So we sponsor and produce the Five Star Conference and Expo each September, which is the largest mortgage-related conference in the U.S. So that's who Five Star Institute is, the magazines, the conferences. We also have professional groups that serve mortgage professionals. We have a group for attorneys, a group for agents and brokers. And then we've just started this group called the Default Title Coalition. So that's what I'm here to talk about today, is the Default Title Coalition. Thank you.
Well, very good. And again, you're from Dallas, Texas,
right.
And I'm very familiar with the Five Star Institute. Ed Delgado, your CEO, does a fine job, has been on some of my shows before, and
yes,
big visionary in the whole default area. And again, when we talk about default, a lot of people understand that if they're in the business, and our listeners are real estate media, real estate brokers, real estate buyers, general public, government officials, bankruptcy officials, banking representatives, but just kind of give a little talk about the term default. What does that mean in terms of the average person?
Sure. So anytime that someone gets any kind of loan, any kind of loan of any kind, whether it's a car loan or a home loan or whatever, I mean, obviously, part of the agreement of the person getting that loan is their agreement to pay that loan back in a certain schedule. And whenever that process of paying back that loan is interrupted for any reason, loss of job or health or for whatever, whenever that process of repayment is interrupted, then that loan that agreement goes into a process that's called, it defaults.
Okay.
It goes into a process that is called default. So when a loan is not being repaid for whatever reason, then the lender has to treat that loan differently. They have to figure out a way, how can we reinstitute this payment plan? How can we make good on this loan that we've made? How can we mitigate our loss, so that our loss isn't too great? So we've paid out money, and our business plan is dependent on that money being repaid. If it's not being repaid, then the lender has to figure out a way and what to do that. In the housing market, specifically, so those are big loans. For most people, for most Americans, their home purchase is the largest purchase they will ever make. And as a result, that agreement stretches out over many years, of course. Those mortgages are long. And so that agreement is very important, and there's a lot of money at stake for the lenders and the banks. And when a mortgage loan goes into default, because so much money is at stake, it sets a lot of things in motion for the lender in order to protect their money and their investment. So in order to protect it, they have to do certain things. So when a mortgage loan goes into default, there are a lot of things that begin to happen. And particularly in the last few years, in the last 5 or 6 years in America, as we're all very familiar with what's happened,
Sure.
as so many loans have defaulted because of the housing crisis and because of the recession that we all experienced, because there was so much of that happening, then banks started to get really aggressive and creative in finding ways to make those loans good. And so rather than just, of course, one option is just to foreclose on a property so that the bank can take it back and so that they can resell it, so that they can mitigate their loss, so they can take care of their investment, so they could foreclose, take the property back. When a bank owns a property, it's a category called REO, which stands for real estate owned.
Mm-hmm.
So you hear in our industry a lot of that term thrown around a lot, REO. It's real estate owned. It's when a bank or a lender owns a property. Of course, a bank or a lender, they don't want to own a property.
Right.
They want someone else to be having it, living in it, paying for it, etc. It's the way the process works. So they can have it. If they have all this REO property and they do have a REO portfolio, then they have to figure out what to do with it, how to take care of the property so that it doesn't get run down, how to get it back on the market in a marketable way, how to do that, who to use to do that in markets all across America, whether you're talking about Des Moines or Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And so a whole range of processes happen when a bank takes a property back. Of course, now there are all those programs where a bank is trying to not have to be in that position. So they may renegotiate or refinance a loan so that the terms are maybe a little bit better for the borrower. So their payments may be a little. So there's refinancing, of course.
Mm-hmm.
There's short sales. There's ability to let a borrower get out of a home by selling it for just what is in the home, for what is owed on the home. So there's short sales. So there's other kinds of what we call in a category of loss mitigation.
Okay.
We want to mitigate how big the loss is. So there's different things we can do, refinancing, short sales, etc. Or it may go to the point, if the default is long enough that the bank has to foreclose. And so anyway, all of that is all in the default and REO market, very complex, but it's been a very important part of the mortgage and real estate market for the last few years because so many people have been in an unfortunate position where they couldn't pay on their homes. And so that's why this part of the mortgage and real estate industry in America has really grown. And what to do with all that property and all those homes has been a really important discussion point for banks and the government, politicians, etc., because there's so much of it. And it is important to think. The housing market in America is very important. It's a very important segment of our economy.
Yes.
And it's an indicator of the health of our economy, so it's important. So the Five Star Institute, with our publishing and with our conferences, really strives to serve professionals who are in that community, whether it's an agent, a real estate agent in a market who helps move that, or it's a lender who has this kind of portfolio, or a title company who has to do the research to make sure that the title on a home is clear, but it's in a mess because it's in this foreclosure process. So wherever you are in the mortgage world, wherever you serve or work, then we try to serve those professionals so that the process is clear and can work as smoothly as possible. That's what we really want to do.
Well, that's an excellent definition and summary of all the things that happen. You know, I read DS News. Carrie Bay is the editor, publisher, does a great job. And for real estate professionals that are in this field, it's a can't-miss, must-have magazine that comes out monthly, and they also do, like you said, dsnews.com. If you go on dsnews.com, there's a thing called Daily Dose, and every day I get an email from DS News. That's the Daily Dose, and it is the greatest things because it's all about the recent articles, the up-to-date articles, what you want to know. And I got on it, but how do you get on it if you want to get a daily email about the news in this business, and does it cost anything?
Yeah, thank you for asking. Yes, so dsnews.com is our online version of our magazine.
Okay.
And yes, if a person wants what we call our daily dose, which is a daily update of the top news that's in default servicing, or if you aren't in default servicing, we also have the M report, which serves the broader mortgage market, which is just originations and servicing of the performing loans. So that's the mreport.com. But either way, you go to that. Of course, it's free to go to those sites and to read those stories. And then there is a place on both of those websites where people can sign up to receive emails. It's very easy, and it doesn't cost anything. So for daily updates of what's happening in the mortgage world, you can sign up for those. Also on those two websites, it's interesting, we do a short 60-second webcast. So we have an anchor person who is on video, and we do just a brief summary of the day's news. So you can also read or watch those webcasts at dsnews.com and at mreport.com. They're also an interesting way to keep up with the daily news. So between the webcasts and the daily doses received or delivered to people's inboxes or email addresses, easy ways and free ways for people to be up to date on what's happening every day in this segment of the market, which is very important.
Who does those webcasts? Because I've seen them; they're very, very good.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, and for dsnews.com, the person who does those, her name is Kelly Snogren. And so Kelly Snogren is a professional here at Five Star Institute. She also is the national director of our Legal League 100, which is our group for attorneys that work in the default space. So she heads up that group and the communications for that group. And then she also, by virtue of her experience, is our anchor for the dsnews.com website. So that's Kelly. You mentioned Carrie Bay,
yes,
who is editor of DS News, also does work on mReport. And Carrie Bay is the newscaster then for mreport.com and that webcast. So we have two, Carrie Bay and Kelly Snogren.
Oh, excellent. Now, big conference coming up, the 5-Star Conference.
Thank you.
I have attended. I've been lucky enough to speak every once in a while there, and it's the best real estate mortgage conference. If you only have a budget for one conference, this is the one to go to. And 4,000, 5,000 people. It is a massive affair. Tell us when it's going to be, where it's going to be, how people can sign up, because you do not want to miss it.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes. So we started this conference. It's in its 10th year. So we're celebrating 10 years of this conference, the 5-Star Conference and Expo. And so we started 10 years ago, right after we started the magazine, because the default industry didn't have a conference and trade show of its own, and so we started this. Now the conference has grown to be larger than just the default segment of the mortgage industry, but it's really a general mortgage show, and it really serves anyone who works in the mortgage and real estate world. There's something there for them. It's a huge show. It's the largest mortgage-related trade show in the U.S., and there's something there. We have designed it to have something for everyone, whether you are a banker or a lender or a servicer, whether you are an attorney, whether you are a title professional, whether you are an agent or a broker. There is something there for you, for academics, for sessions and roundtables. There are networking events so that you can meet people from around the country or from your own region. So there really is something for everybody. It's held every year in Dallas. So it's in Dallas, and it's every year in September. So September this year, September 8th, 9th, and 10th in Dallas, Texas, at the Hilton Anatole Hotel. The Hilton Anatole is a huge hotel and conference center. We have the entire hotel. There's no one else there in that center except 5-Star and all of our events. We are so blessed to have every year really big speakers to come, because by virtue of the size of our conference, we can. Last year, both George W. Bush and Bill Clinton spoke to our conference. This year, former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice is speaking to our conference, and Laura Bush is also speaking. So those are two big names. But in addition to that, then people from all kinds of segments of the industry, from big banks, from national banks and servicing companies, and people who are leaders in their different segments and their different areas, all speak and lead at our conference, because all day long for 2 days we have conferences and roundtables going on different topics and on different subjects. So really, I appreciate what you're saying and sharing what you did, Doug, because it is designed to serve anyone who is in mortgage and real estate industry in America. And there is something there for everybody, for helping to build their business, helping to build relationships so that they can succeed in whatever area they are. And of course, I mean, everybody who's listening knows how interrelated the mortgage world is. It's so interrelated. Everything from, a real estate agent in Little Rock, Arkansas, who's working to sell properties, but is dependent on so many other people, is dependent on the title person, is dependent on the banking officer, is depending on this person who's going to be servicing the loan. So many things are interrelated, because it's a major part of purchase, of course. So great conference, and this year, because it's our 10th anniversary, we'll have even more seats. It's already larger than our past conferences. We're also going to be on the final night celebrating our 10th anniversary with a big party with the band Cheap Trick.
Oh, so, there you go.
So it's a great 2 days, very productive for building business and building relationships, and is also a lot of fun. So thank you very much. And people can find that easily at 5starconference.com. So people go to 5-Star Conference, that's 5 spelled out, F-I-V-E, 5starconference.com. Then everything about the conference is there at that site, and it's easy to register online, or people can find a number there where they can call our concierge and ask questions.
Well, I will definitely be there. I would not miss it. And is there any chance for people in the business that want to have a booth or a sponsorship? I know Jason Myers does a fantastic job with that segment. Is there still possibilities for that?
Thank you. Our exhibit hall is the largest exhibit hall in the mortgage industry for events like this. So I mean, it's very full and very exciting. I think there are still a couple of spots. It is very full, but I think there are a couple of spots as far as the exhibit hall if someone's interested in exhibiting their business there. But there are, in addition to exhibiting, there are opportunities for sponsorships. If you, for example, are in the title world, for example, well, then you can there's a title event. Your company could sponsor a gathering. Your sponsor could your company could have signage there. So there are certainly all kinds of sponsorship opportunities in addition to exhibiting opportunities. If you're a vendor, if you're a company who serves this community, then there are great places. And so also at 5star.com, if people are interested, they go to 5star.com and look at sponsorship opportunities, click on that, and you'll find a phone number to reach Jason Myers and other people who are over different segments. And we'd love to talk to you.
Very good. How do people reach you in regards to your new default title coalition and the conference itself?
Oh, thank you so much. So to reach for more information about the Default Title Coalition, which is a group of title companies across the country who are looking to build their businesses, and also it's a changing field. Of course, it's changing, new regulations, and everybody is interested and curious about how these regulations from CFPB, et cetera, are going to affect their work. Everybody's interested, but title professionals particularly, because title is very intricate. Title has a legal aspect, of course, because whenever a title company verifies that a title is clear to a home and a property, then they are responsible for that verification. So there's a legal element. So title professionals are concerned about that. So we'll be discussing that at the conference.
How do they get in contact with you, Brent?
Thank you. So titlecoalition.com is the website.
Okay.
Just titlecoalition.com. And my phone number is 214-525-6709. But titlecoalition.com will also give them my contact information and information about the coalition.
That is great. Brent, thank you so much. It is going to be exciting in September, and I will be there and look forward to seeing you and Ed Delgado and Jason Myers and Carrie Bay and Kelly Snowgren, the whole team. You have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for being on the show.
Oh, Doug, thank you so much for having me. Look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. That was Brent Lockhart. He's in charge of the Default Title Coalition, part of the 5-Star Institute, and the 5-Star Conference is coming up. It is September 8th, 9th, and 10th. There are still availability for sponsors. There's still availability for attendees. Act quickly. He just said it's bigger than last year, and last year was 4,000 or 5,000 people, so it's just crazy. And as far as news, dsnews.com. All right, we're going to take a break. We will be right back. Thank you. All right, we are back. You're listening to First Title National Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Doug Dennison. We broadcast every Friday from beautiful St. Augustine, Florida, the nation's oldest city, at WFOY 1240 AM. Again, we just had Brent Lockhart on the show from 5-Star Institute. Big conference coming up for those of you in the real estate lending and real estate brokerage area. You do not want to miss it. It's going to be September 8th, 9th, and 10th in Dallas at the Hilton Anatole. I've been there before. I will be there again this year. It's so big that it's very difficult to find a location that will house everything and, be able to take care of 5,000 people, and the Hilton does a fantastic job. So looking forward to that. Couple things that have been going on, and I want to go back to what we talk about in regards to news across the nation. But let's get back to our caller. Hold on for a minute. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Doug. Tommy Rowell, Rowell Auctions. How are you?
Well, I'm fine, and it's been a while since we've talked, and love to hear what's happening with Rowell Auctions. Can you tell us a little bit about the company and yourself, sir?
Be glad to, Doug. Rowell Auctions is a 75-year-old real estate company that has been marketing real estate at auction for the past 45 years. In fact, we've converted to 100% auctions about 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we've and what we found, and Rowell Auctions travels throughout the United States, representing lenders and individuals, states, and trust. And we sell a variety of real estate, from land tracts to homes and a good bit of bank foreclosures.
Well, you do a fantastic job, a leader in the auction industry. As you know, we have a diverse group of listeners, from banking officials, bankruptcy, attorneys, but we also have the general public. Can you tell us, you mentioned trust. What does a trust mean? And why would you be auctioning off something for a trust?
Well, trusts are set up by individuals for the benefit of others.
Okay.
Whether it be a trust that is left to a university foundation, and at some point in time, the assets in the trust may need to be sold and converted to cash. And from that standpoint, we would be representing those trusts, liquidating those assets and converting them to cash for other needs.
Very good. Now, Rowell Auctions, again, 75 years, 40 directly into the auction business. What do you see as trends? I've seen that there seems to be more internet bidding than regular ballroom or on the street in front of a house type of auction. Why is that, or do you see that?
Doug, I do see that. In fact, in the last 5 years, our company has been a leader in the United States in selling properties with online platforms.
Okay.
And we find that the asset that number one, buyers enjoy buying on the internet. Many of our new buyers that just entering into an online auction for the first time, they will be a little skeptical. But when they come to pick up their purchases or sign their contracts on real estate, they'll tell us, this was one of the best experiences I've ever had. And from that aspect, it's producing a better return for our sellers.
Mm-hmm.
So we are very strong believers that the online method is a marketing tool that is here to stay, and it will grow exponentially in years upcoming.
And so basically, instead of years ago, you would go to a ballroom and there'd be a lot of people there, but it would take a lot of time to do that, and it would take expense. A lot of people drove hours and hours to get to that hotel ballroom, and then might have had to stay overnight, so there's that cost now. So now internet bidding, basically you can be in your flip-flops and a T-shirt and know exactly what's happening on your website and be able to bid. Is that correct?
That is correct. They can sit in their pajamas and bid.
Well,
This week we completed the sale of Graham Brothers Construction Company, one of the largest construction companies here in the southeast United States. And it was a online auction only, selling both the equipment and real estate. And the interesting part there was we had 15 bidders from 15 states around that were able to participate in this auction and purchase. And as you noted, the savings and expense of having to travel first to look at it and then go to the auction, whereby they can. We have excellent descriptions with numerous photographs of the items. We have all of the due diligence information posted for the real estate. So really, they can sit and inspect the property fairly well from their laptop.
Well, what about if I'm a new person to this whole deal? I'm going to want to take a look at the contract, maybe the terms and conditions of the sale. Is that available somewhere?
All of that is posted there on the website. Sample contracts, your terms and conditions, how your earnest money deposit is handled. Each aspect of that is outlined so that there are no surprises, that you have full information as to how the system works and what will be expected of you as a successful bidder.
Well, if there were 15 bidders from 15 different states, I imagine that because of the internet bidding, they chose to be involved compared to, well, I'm busy that day. I'm not sure I can get on a plane and get there. And, I'll be away from my family. So it looks like internet bidding is the way to go, sir.
Well, it is. And with mobile technology, with mobile apps today, no matter where you are, if you have cell service, you may bid and buy property right wherever you are, so long as you have cell service.
Didn't you tell me a story of somebody that bid on the phone and bought like $1 million property recently, maybe last year, somewhere in the southeast? Or do I remember that correctly?
That is correct. We were selling a home down on the Gulf Coast on St. George Island, and the purchaser purchased the home at $2.8 million.
Wow!
From her telephone.
Amazing. The whole internet and technology is just amazing to continue growing this auction business and talk about technology. You are part of MarkNet Alliance. Can you tell me a little bit about MarkNet Alliance and why you decided to get involved?
Absolutely. MarkNet Alliance has grown to 60 auction companies nationwide, and the Alliance has been very selective in choosing very knowledgeable, intelligent auctioneers, and we have all put our heads together to develop technology that benefits our clients, our bidders, and ourselves. And without a doubt, we have one of the strongest online platforms available today.
Well, it seems like MarkNetAlliance.com is a go-to website now because of all of these 60 firms put their auctions up on that website. So any given day, you might see hundreds of auctions going on from 10, 20 different states. And if I'm a buyer that wants to know what's happening in the auction world, I'm going to MarkNet Alliance.
Absolutely, Doug. Last year, in 2012, we had 813,000 registered bidders on our auctions for 2012. and we are ecstatic about those kind of numbers. Being able to expose properties to that many purchasers is phenomenal.
Can you give me that number again? Because that's, my gosh, that's astonishing.
That's 813,000 registered bidders. That means they went on our site, inputted all of their credentials, and were qualified to bid on either real estate or personal property.
So when you're talking to banks who have their portfolio of properties that they don't know what to do with, perhaps saying that you've got 813,000 registered bidders in the last year, that's got to be a selling point.
Indeed it is.
And do you see banks, what's the trend right now? Are they still doing the small properties? Are they starting to get rid of some of the bigger assets? I know the government regulators are looking at the financial institutions and saying, hey, you can't hold on to this stuff. What are you going to do?
Well, there are two aspects here that I'd like to bring out.
Okay.
First of all, the banking industry overall is much more healthy than it has been. Those banks, the banks that are selling foreclosed assets due to loans that they made, not from failed banks, their earnings are up, which allows them to systematically sell these assets for current market, writing them down. So we're seeing more assets coming to the market due to the profitability of individual banks. And secondly, you have the banks that have acquired failed banks.
Yes.
And most of those banks were purchased under a loss share agreement with the FDIC, which was a 5-year loss share agreement, which FDIC would participate and pay for the loss in the sale of these assets, a major portion of the loss in these assets. So those agreements are beginning to come to termination dates, and therefore these banks are looking to move more of these assets out of their portfolios and clean up that portfolio with FDIC.
Got it. And to go back to one of your first comments, sometimes in a tough economy, in tough financial times, a bank might have properties it needs to sell, but because of the percentages and regulations, they may not be able to sell it unless it gets top dollar, else they take a loss, which might put them under. Is that something like that? Give me your perception on that.
Well, that does occur, and that's dealing with the Tier 1 capital. Banks are required to have a certain amount of Tier 1 capital, which is the safety and soundness of that bank.
I see.
And when it falls below those levels established by FDIC, then they have to raise more capital. So, and when you sell an asset that you have foreclosed at a loss, typically that loss will reduce your capital by the amount of the loss. So, banks just can't say, well, the market's at 30% of where we loaned on it at the high market, and we can sell it. Sometimes they have to work those sales out.
Well,
that may take time.
That's a great explanation, and that's a lot of people don't know that type of thing. So excellent work on that. And you have, when we talk about FDIC, you have been a strong proponent of selling government assets by auction. There are many government assets that are not being used. They're abandoned. And I know you've been up to Washington, D.C. to to talk to senators, to talk to congressmen, to talk to basically government agencies about what can happen if auctions could help them and bring more money back. So give me what you've done and what you're pushing and what your suggestion is, sir.
Well, Doug, in essence, we've been up to Washington encouraging congressmen that especially are focused on these surplus assets to utilize public auctions in order to efficiently and effectively sell these properties for market value. And in today's world, I believe the number is that there are like 14,000 surplus properties that are costing the government, we taxpayers, $1 billion, that's with a B, $1 billion a year to hold these properties, to keep keep them secured, keep them maintained, keep the utilities on, and that's money that we are just absolutely losing, and our congressmen need to pass a legislation whereby requiring the sale of these assets and the funds being applied, hopefully, to the deficit.
Well, you've also been to congressional hearings where people like Congressman Denham from California and Congressman Micah from Florida have gone to different locations and say, hey, this property isn't being used. Why are we not selling it? Give me that story, if you would.
Well, there is a federal courthouse down in downtown Miami that is no longer being utilized. A new courthouse was built across the street from the old courthouse, so you've got roughly a city block in downtown Miami that is most valuable, with a beautiful old building that is not being used at all. In fact, when we went in for the hearing that Congressman Denham held, the musty odor of an old, stale building was so present. And they were questioning GSA, and GSA is the Government Services Administration, is responsible for maintaining those buildings, selling those buildings, and a lot of that hearing was focused upon GSA's lack of movement to sell those properties.
What a wonderful thing is if there's, and I've heard different numbers, 14,000. I've heard much bigger than that, believe it or not. And these aren't residential properties. These are warehouses and just like you said, office buildings, courthouses,
post offices.
Yes. And what if rather than the taxpayers saying, okay, here's another year, it's not being used, I'm paying holding cost of $1 billion for these properties, why don't we just sell them? Because if a private sector person came into the building and bought it, obviously money going back into the Treasury and government agencies, but what else happens when private sector buys the building and therefore maybe enhances the area?
Well, Doug, several things occur when we take those government-owned assets and put them back into the private sector. First of which, we're going to create jobs.
Nice.
Through the redevelopment of that property. You're going to be spending large sums of money renovating, redeveloping these properties, which create jobs. And then when we put businesses in these buildings, we're creating additional jobs that will last for many, many years. And then the other aspect is when the federal government owns a property, they don't pay property taxes, ad valorem taxes.
Yes, sir.
So once you put that back into the private sector, then the private sector is paying ad valorem taxes on that property, which more evenly spreads the tax burden of that county. So that's a huge positive for our county governments.
Well, I give you kudos for going to Washington several times and speaking with our nation's leaders to push the fact that these properties need to be sold, to push the fact that auctions would be a great way to do it because of transparency and fairness. And so, very nice job on that end, sir. What kind of upcoming events do you see for Rowell Auctions or MarkNet Alliance, sir?
Well, MarkNet Alliance currently has 200 auctions that are on the calendar.
Wow.
That are will be sold, and that's across the nation. As far as Rowell Auctions, we've got commercial buildings in Tifton, Georgia. It was occupied by the Georgia Peanut Commission. We're selling the building and the furniture, fixture, and equipment there on the 25th. On the 26th, we have bank assets that are ranging from a motel over on the Georgia coast in Kingsland, Georgia, to a boathouse on Lake Seminole, and then waterfront properties down on the Gulf Coast. We'll be selling there on the 26th. And then we've got 375 acres of land selling in Lee County, Georgia. That is good property there, good investment, rock solid. And then we have a business liquidation coming up at the end of next week. So we're very busy in today's market, but we still have plenty of time to represent many other sellers. So I would invite anybody that has property for sale to give us a call at 1-800-323-8388, or visit us at Rowell Auctions. That's ROWELLAUCTIONS.com, and you can click on upcoming auctions or send us an email. Either way.
So all of those auctions you just talked about will be on your website, and that's RowellAuctions.com. And those 200 auctions you talked about, where do people go for that?
MarkNetAlliance.com.
MarkNetAlliance.com. Mr. Rowell, it is a pleasure as always. Thank you for coming on the show. Again, thank you for the hard work working with the government and trying to explain to them that selling government assets by auction is the right way to go. It's the fairest way to go. It's the most transparent way to go. And so kudos. And again, it's RowellAuctions.com. Can you give us that 800 number one more time?
That's 800-323-8388.
Very good. Tommy, thank you so much, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, Doug. Take care.
You bet.
Bye-bye.
All right. That was Tommy Rowell, CEO of Rowell Auctions in Moultrie, Georgia. He is the CEO and really a leader of the auction industry. There is a auction conference coming up in Indianapolis, the National Auctioneers Association. I believe it's in mid-July, and you can go to the National Auctioneers Association website to find out more about that. Upcoming auctions, he's got a whole bunch. Go on RowellAuctions.com. 200 different auctions on MarkNet realestatealliance.com. We also want to thank Brent Lockhart from 5 Star Institute. Big conference coming up. You want to go to dsnews.com to find out about that. Lots of good information for the general public and real estate professionals and mortgage professionals that was given today. I want to thank our guest again, Brent Lockhart from 5 Star Institute, and Tommy Rowell of Rowell Auctions. Exciting stuff. We are going to have another show next week. We've got great leaders from across the country. We heard from Dallas today. We heard from Georgia today, and we'll hear more. Thank you so much for listening, folks. Have a wonderful weekend.